Hey everyone, today I was reminded of a video blog that I had been wanting to do, but I have not done. And actually, that's not entirely true. I have tried to do it, only I don't think I've executed it the way I wanted to. Like sometimes I'll do the video blogs, and if I don't like the way I did them, or if the message isn't clear enough, I'll delete it and go about it on another time. In the case of this one, with this whole lockdown, of the world, I guess I just kind of shelved it without even realizing it. But earlier today, I was reminded about it, and I was like, oh yeah, huh. So let me give it a shot. So if you're familiar with my video blogs, I'm always talking about DIY stuff. Um, and I think I've covered this a little bit on different video blogs. Like Music and Ego is one that I did quite a while back, and you'll find it somewhere down the list. And it's somewhere in that same world, but a little different. So I think I'll title it something like Different Personality Types in DIY. Uh, I don't know. All different personality types can be successful in DIY music. But are you telling a story? Because I think that's the very important thing to think about. Like is your story being told? That's the best way to wrap it up. Like a summary. Are you telling a story? If somebody is watching your social media, and it could be any social media, it doesn't have to just be YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Most of us have stronger ones than others. Uh, are you telling a story? I don't mean a literal like story, like a written story. Like it could be, but uh, if your story is writing stories, and but there's a like an out like the whole story, right? If someone's watching you, if there's something that's being told, if there's something that's being laid out before the people that are watching you. And I think that's a good way to really analyze, like, if you're doing it right, if you're because and that story can be different. That's the beauty of being a DIY artist, is that it can literally be different. If there's, I don't know, let's just say a million different DIY artists, there can be a million different stories. It's not like, some record label signed, 40 bands, has 40 bands on their roster, they sign maybe 3 every year, and they go about it the same way, and that's cool. That's cool. It's a good thing to be able to have still. That so and so record label's going to release 4 records this year. This record label's going to release 10 records this year. Uh, and you can depend on that sort of entertainment. That's entertainment. That's cool. But if you're in this world DIY, then your story can literally be your story. That's the freedom. That's the beauty of it. I think that's why a lot of us choose uh, to keep this sort of thing going. That is our careers, our stories. And actually, I should mention that obviously I say choice. Um, it's not like I'm saying no, no, Universal, don't knock on my door, because I won't sign that contract. I like being a DIY artist. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, it's probably not gonna happen, and I'm fine with that. I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and at this point, I can say without a doubt that I really mean that. Although, if the deal of a lifetime falls in your lap, well, that's a different story. But anyways, going back to the original point, one of the things you'll notice in DIY is that there's, like, you'll find artists, and this goes beyond just music, but I'll, like I always say, keep it to music, but it may fit some other form of entertainment as well. That's DIY. And that is, there's a certain type of language to social media, because most of this is, I mean, especially right now that we're living this year, this crazy year, almost everything is coming down to, social media. How we throw out, our live shows right now, it's live streaming, right? But there's a language, like there's a certain language. People are scrolling through social media, and that language is how they perceive, what they're seeing. And in terms of music, there's a certain kind of artist that does really well with this sort of thing. Like the modern kind of artist that can really benefit from social media more than say like the kind of artist like the kind of artist that I am. Okay, and a lot of artists that have molded themselves the way they want to for maybe artists of the past or even present artists, but big artists, kind of molded yourself off that, and then you're finding it kind of hard to connect, because let's say you're someone who kind of sounds like I don't know, Blink 182, right? You're in a band. You you've been influenced by Blink 182. You're kind of a pop punk band. That's kind of your stencil. You're doing live streams right now. You're doing everything you can. You're not signed. You're DIY. But then all of a sudden you promote your stuff online and you're finding that some guy who maybe does everything by himself, but it maybe makes funny songs and executes them very well, and he's crushing your numbers, right? That's exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to the language. Like, there's a certain language that is going to benefit with this quick, social media. Just scroll through things real fast. Like I said it before. You even scroll through things fast that you like. Oh, I love this. You go right through it. So what chance does someone have who is, I'll get back to that later. Chances are not. But nevertheless, that is why I'm saying all different personality types, all different styles can be successful in DIY because they can. So this language is just, it's just like a stencil. It's just like, okay, you can't make yourself be like something else that you don't want to be. You may be extremely unhappy. It may not be a choice you want to make. You have to kind of see the whole thing. Like, yeah, is it worth it? And I think one of the ways that I always kind of use, kind of like a good example would be to use these two different celebrities because they're so different and they're both super famous and everybody knows who they are. So it's easy to tell someone, like, think of these two artists and think of like how you behave online as a DIY artist. So let's take Kanye West and let's take Dave Grohl, right? So Kanye West is like, super outgoing with the things he says, right? I mean, he'll tell you how amazing he is, right? A lot of people don't like that. Some people like that. That's what they like about him. Some people believe what he says. Some people are like, oh, he's crazy. Or some people are like, yeah, I don't really believe what he says, but I still think he's really good. So it's all different kinds of reactions to what he says. But regardless, it creates reactions, right? Whether he really believes it, I don't know. I tend to believe that he actually does somewhat believe most of the stuff he says about himself. But once again, that's just me watching it, giving a reaction like everybody else. He'll tell you how much of a genius, how great of a genius he is, right? And you need to, one of the greatest artists of the last, however long he says. That's the way he promotes himself. On the other side, you have Dave Grohl, everyone's best friend, right? Always seems to say the right thing, always seems to do the right thing, always seems to be in the right place at the right time. Dave is so cool, right? It's one of the first things you hear people saying when you mention Dave Grohl. Oh, some people probably hate him too, but he just seems to always have that humble guy kind of musician. Wouldn't say he's the best, that sort of thing. You know, yeah, you can make it. You just got to keep trying, or he always has that. You always see Dave Grohl's face in a picture with like some positive quote that he has said in the past. So you got these two like opposite ways of promoting, yet they're both superstars, right? Now you'll notice in the DIY world, that the Dave Grohl way of being tends to be the way that gets favored. And now this is why. And I think Facebook is probably the number one, like, maybe reason for this sort of thing. And since Facebook for a long time has been like the biggest social network, which I think is starting to, like, all right, it seems like each network is starting to have their power, and maybe less musicians are depending on Facebook. I mean, I use my artist page quite a bit, but I use it more just for like official uploads. It's yeah, that's a whole nother vlog. But anyways, so the reason why I think being like Dave Grohl, which summarizing the nice guy, everyone's best friend, always kind of saying the right thing, super social, can be everyone's friend, very perfect socially, that's favored. That personality is favored on social media because when you're dealing with people face to face, and obviously you're not face to face, but like you're not dealing with like a middleman. You're not saying, oh, hey manager, can I, can so and so artist, can you give him this or can you ask him this? You're talking to the person whether they get back or not. And that closeness to me makes it a little bit more like there's not as much mystery anymore, right? So what you end up wanting to get back is the same thing you'd want to get back from like a friend, right? You wouldn't want a friend to be like kind of treating you like the way Kanye West's like visions of grandeur sort of personality, right? You kind of would want something solid, something positive, what Dave Grohl is. So this is the sort of stuff that I think people get comfortable with. So and so never comments back, or so and so never likes my posts. Oh, but this person always says, hey, or just gets back, and those kind of things go a long way on social media. So now I'm just kind of using these two as this or that. There's way more different kinds of personalities, but I think since these are so opposite, it kind of covers a lot. So my question is, do you have to be like Dave Grohl? Do you have to be like that? I think a lot of artists tend to feel like, well, I'm not good at that. And I know personally myself, I'm not that good at that either. I've mentioned on recent video blogs that I've even had, or even have, and this is for a long time, but little reasons to believe that I'm so what's the word, that I have social anxiety. Like I said before, I've had it for a long time. Sometimes it feels worse than others, and I'm not crippled by it. I'm very, very functional. I love talking to people, and I like people. Like I'm not necessarily an introvert. I like being around people, but there's certain positions that I notice that I will be instantly like I'll recognize it, and that alone tells me that maybe that I wouldn't even be diagnosed with social anxiety because of the fact that I'm able to notice, and improve certain things maybe easier than someone who's got it legitly and like where they just cannot improve. It's a really, really hard thing. But anyways, I wanted to mention that because people have different personality sets. It's like a video game when you're like you're playing a game, like a sporting game. You got a football game on you see the players and you got certain player has this much strength and this much speed and this much. We're all set like that. We really are. We're all set with different little presets. Chris may have a lot of comfort on the stage, but maybe he doesn't always say the perfect thing because he gets like nervous, like after a show or something, like which is true actually. After I perform a show, I get very like it takes me a while to come down from the stage, and I'm usually so I'll scurry away for a little bit, and then it makes it better. That way my mind is a little more clear. But yeah, in certain instances, I'll notice a little like social anxiety with me. And I'm trying to work on it so that it doesn't interfere with me with my behavior, in this world. I mean, I'm an artist, so I need to find a way to work on myself to give myself the best chance. But do I need to be like Dave Grohl and like use those set of that the way he does things? Not necessarily. No, no, because there's so many different kinds of people, and it would be silly to believe that. Like, let's look at their world, the big industry. I mean, there's all different kinds of people. I mean, I think of like an artist like, well, let's take Billie Eilish. She's new. She's a new artist right now that's really big. Like, while I'm not really familiar with her, I know a couple of her hits. I have seen her like recently, like being interviewed, and so I kind of know what she talks like. I mean, does she talk like Taylor Swift? Does Taylor Swift talk like, Haley Williams from Paramore? They all kind of have the different set of like Adele. They all kind of carry themselves different. Granted, it's a little different when you're in the big industry because when you're signed to a big label, you get that. I mean, that perception knob is just smashed all the way to the end. You know what I mean? Like someone will say, like, when you're that big, you get the benefit of the doubt, like by enough people to keep you famous and keep you having a great career. Someone will say, oh, you can't do that. But wait, Billie Eilish does it. Yeah, but she's Billie Eilish, right? You get that. You don't get that at this level. You don't get that in the DIY. Like, yeah, you really shouldn't do that. Well, yeah, I know Chris Sky does it, but he's Chris Sky. Like, no, it doesn't happen that way. If you do something that maybe people turn around and maybe go the other way and don't want to, listen to your music or check your videos out, it's not gonna be like, well, yeah, he's Chris Sky, so it's a little harsher. The You don't have 30 seconds to impress someone necessarily. You have, I mean, it's fast, scroll, 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 scroll. So once again, can you be yourself and be successful? Yes, you absolutely can. You do not have to be Dave Grohl. You do not have to be Kanye West and be the other way around. And that's tough. If you want to try being like if you're naturally like that, where I'm just very bombastic. I like saying things on the top of my head. I like saying how great I am. Well, that may not go that well on Facebook. Facebook tends to be a close knit, like it's people or you knew, and it's a different sort of thing. That's why a lot of people kind of back off of Facebook when it comes to this sort of stuff, because you end up running into the people that can like, oh, shut up, or oh, stop it, or it's a little bit more like people. It's mostly people so yeah, it doesn't always work that well to start off being very like out there with the things you say. You may just get left alone, and then you got nothing. Now, can it work on Instagram, on YouTube? Yeah, it can. It can totally work to be like Kanye West style of promoting yourself, if you got the right energy, if you got the music that speaks that same sort of vibe. I mean, if you do, and it matches up well, yeah, you can do it. So that's at the end of this is what I really want to focus on. Are you telling a story? Does it match up with your energy? Now, energy. Energy is the last thing I'll talk about here, because it doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist. It doesn't matter if you're, agnostic or just spiritual or just whatever. Pretty much everyone is aware that there is some sort of energy that we bring into a room, right? There just really is. Like it doesn't matter what it is. An atheist may call it something different. Someone may call it an aura. Someone may call it just your actions that create a certain mood. But there's an energy, and I think from what I've learned is that it doesn't matter how. Well, yeah, it doesn't matter how you carry yourself. And what I don't really want to get across is that you just can be yourself and never improve. Like you have to be able to notice things and say, yeah, that's not working, but I think I can try this, and I can do this. You don't want to do something that you don't think you can do, or else you're putting yourself in a position to fail, right? But you want to look at your options. Well, look, this is the kind of personality I have. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, and if this fails, I can do this, I can do this. You need to know yourself like that. And the number one thing is, besides not giving up, because then, well, obviously, then it's over, just to keep going and figure out whether that energy that you're throwing out is matching with a story being told. Because people love a good story. I mean, you see it like on the singing shows, right? It's like, well, what's your story? I even made a joke about it a few months ago with one of my ridiculousness videos. Uh, what's your story? You know, the truth. Well, I don't have a good story. Well, then lie. You know, is what I said. So it's like those singing shows put a very big emphasis on your story, even if you don't really have anything crazy. And at the end, it's not a story. It's not necessarily a story. It's not like the kind of story they tell. Oh, you know, I was poor, or oh, I didn't have anything, or oh, yes, those can pull at the heartstrings and work, but it's really just a story being told, real life. I hate to say this, but your timeline. You know, if there's something to invest in, like this is one of the reasons why I think, like with when you and okay, let me tame my thoughts a little bit first, slow them down. Like I have a karaoke Instagram. I have a real Instagram for my Chris guy, but I also have the karaoke channel. The karaoke channel is the same thing always, like for the most part. It's just me singing karaoke. And I made it so that I can just keep doing it, having fun, singing songs I like, and have it not really interfere with my main channel. Now, you can do things like that and gain a huge following. I've seen it with guitar players, drummers, all over the place. Whether they paid money for it, I don't know. Some people pay money, and some people just, it happens naturally. But I do think that it's harder to tell a story that way, and it's easy. It's easy to get people's attentions with stuff like that because it's stuff they know already. They know these stories. They know these hit songs. They know, so they're able to, oh, okay, yeah, and then from there they may be able to say, you know what, I like your voice, or I like, you know, the way you play guitar. Let me click on that channel, or let me click on that link in your bio that sends me to your iTunes or your YouTube or whatever it is so and so has. Uh, but when you're an original artist, like on my main page, right? And if that's what you're doing, and that's the way you're doing it, then you're gonna want to see, like, do I have something that people can, like, latch on to in some ways? Because if it's just like, you'll be able to tell really, and you'll be able to feel that, like, okay, you know what, I have no story being told. There's no story being told. There's no uh like, it can be different for everybody, but energy is a hard thing to really put your finger on exactly, because it's like we don't really know 100% what that even means, but you can totally feel it when certain people have this, like, energy that just seems to be going, like, right, you know. And some people have energy that's just like going wrong. Like, maybe you're the kind of person that when people, you walk in a room, everybody walks out. Or maybe you're the kind of person that when you walk in a room, everyone smiles, or everybody kind of, you know, goes away from you, you know. But like, those sort of things, it's like they exist and they're real, and they're not just in simple social situations. They're like you're at a party, you know. No, it happens on social media too, and for many different reasons. So it's crazy to think that there's this many things that go into be successful, that go into being successful. But when you realize being successful, if your version of successful is being, like, really successful, you know, like having lots of fans around the world, then yes, there is a lot of things that go into it, and um, a lot of self analyzing. It doesn't mean you have to change yourself. It just means you have to change little things. Little small things can make a big difference. Now, I've been doing this with Chris Guy project since 2009, technically since 2005, and I have been able to feel little, like, moments where it's like, okay, this feels like there's a good energy going on. Like, I need to carry this more, and I need to keep doing this, you know. And I've never felt it more strong than right now. Like, this, you know, it's been a crazy year, and it's not just this year. It's been like over the last 2 years, really. there's an energy that seems to be rolling with me where it just feels like it's slow. It's very slow, but it seems like I'm getting more comfortable in this project, like promoting it the way I should promote it, acting the way I should act. All of it just seems to be happening natural, but I've come to notice it. I'm not just like doing it like by myself completely. I'm kind of okay. Well, that didn't work. I'm not gonna do that anymore. And that's fine. Uh, look at my YouTube channel. I don't like this. I'm gonna do away with this playlist. And right now the way things are going with me, like I really like them. I really like it, and that's what I think you need to find as a DIY artist. You need to find that rhythm that, okay, well, what is it that I actually do? What is it that because remember, I say this a lot. We're all entertainers now. It doesn't matter if you're a comedian, you're an entertainer. It doesn't matter if you're a singer, you're an entertainer. It doesn't matter if you're a poet, you write poetry and you read it on YouTube. You're an entertainer. You're entertaining the people on the other side of that phone. And hopefully at some point in real life, performances, shows, that sort of thing. Um, so you have to remember that when you see things that way, it makes it a little easier to understand. Like, okay, I may want to be a musician, but at the end of the day, all I have to do is entertain you. You know, and with all that, with all those ideas, you can see how you don't have to just be Dave Grohl. Poor Dave Grohl. It's not like I'm bashing him. I'm not. You don't have to be that perfect. Now, if you are that person, then you've always had a very easy time being super like social like Dave is, like very, it says the right things, right? If you've always had that and that's kind of like you're good at it, then well, keep going with that, because that's a good thing. It's just like, for example, there's artists, like I said in the very beginning of this video blog, that benefit from the quick style of social media. Well, then obviously you don't want to change that. That's a great thing. But since this ever forming, I mean, it's blossoming DIY world that's not mapped out, that's mapping itself out right now. I think I think it's made a lot of leaps this year, to be honest. There's not a set way to do things. So there's not a set personality really. It's just up to you to find yourself and say, this energy works. And I all I gotta do is be me, but the best version of me. And that should work. It really, really should. Because I've seen way too many different kinds of people on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, to think that you have to just be a certain thing. You don't have to be anything you don't want to be. Just do it enough and do it with enough passion, and people will start to notice that. Like I'm so sure of that. And you know what? Speaking of Dave Grohl, he has a quote where he said something about, I really believe that bands, if they play out there, if they write great songs, that's pretty much all they have to do. Just keep playing and keep trying to write great songs. Keep playing, it'll work. And people say like, yeah, well, it's not that simple. Even I have thought that. Like, well, yeah, but then, but I think at the end, is what he's saying is to be passionate. To be passionate. Don't just be like, I kind of wish I could do this, and then get depressed about it, and then kind of don't do anything, because the lost time is what you don't want. Now, with that said, with this new set of tools that we have, age becomes something that doesn't really exist as much anymore, like in terms of entertainment. Like, there used to be this thing with the labels, well, you better get signed by the time you're 21 or 24, you're 25 at the most, nobody cares about that here, it's just, are you entertained or are you not entertained? It's that simple. If somebody with a really good voice is 60 years old making an Instagram, hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. So that's a really good thing. Thankfully, that's a good thing for us, and that we have that option. So, anyways, I'll wrap it up. It's almost 30 minutes. It doesn't matter what kind of personality you are. It just matters that you're still telling your story on whatever social media you choose to use, or all of them. There's something that people can latch on to, and You got to make sure that that thing is something you enjoy doing, and you just keep doing it over and over and over until people say, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna support this person because they're not going away. And they're not going away, and they're just getting better and better and better. This is going somewhere. I like this story. I'm invested in it." And you got to make people invested in that story. So, hope that all makes a little bit of sense. Until next time, rock on.